Welcome back to Coin Lady channel, where you can read about the latest and most interesting developments in the world of XRP. The SEC has filed a new case that could have an impact on Bitcoin, and the cryptocurrency industry as a whole is seeing significant change. In this video, we'll talk about that and a major event that will have far-reaching implications on the cryptocurrency market in general that is happening tomorrow. In addition, I'd want to bring out a recent SEC case, namely their failures in the Bitcoin space. The general population appears to be unconcerned about this issue. Although I, like the court in the prior SEC case, am tired of hearing about the SEC, I would like to explore the circumstances in this case. To kick things off, I want to bring up something very important that will take place tomorrow. The first day of testimony in Grayscale versus SEC has come to an end. Read this article to find out why the SEC won't let Grayscale change their GBTC product into a spot ETF. Even though the SEC claims to have no problems to Bitcoin, the first oral hearing on the matter is scheduled for tomorrow. Now that this is over, John Deaton will join Twitter and start chatting with a famous user. I'm sure he has a huge following, like 1 million people or something. In addition, I think both of these events will be very successful. The outcome of the first day of this experiment is completely unknown to me at this time. First, it appears that each party will introduce themselves and their case. It should be interesting to learn why the SEC decided to reject the product. Most professionals in the field think this makes no sense at all. In its latest round of approvals, the SEC included Bitcoin futures exchange-traded funds. For the most part, the value of Bitcoin is tracked by both spot ETF and futures ETF. This begs the question, why has the SEC permitted one product to be stolen while stopping another? I think we've all heard it before, anyhow. They accomplished the same thing for Ethereum that they did for Bitcoin. In such case, XRP should be put to bed. I would assume the same is true here. It's a big deal for the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, and it'll be interesting to hear the SEC's rationale if they have one. That is why we plan to keep a careful eye on developments. Okay, let's move on to a second, often overlooked case. The judge's obvious bias against the SEC makes this case all the more interesting. Thus, I'm interested in knowing where he gets his distaste for and criticism of the SEC, and whether or not the SEC's actions in the Ripple case are representative of its current posture. As a result, Binance and Voyager are the main focus of this lawsuit. If you're unfamiliar with it, Voyager was a major Bitcoin exchange in the United States. They actually had stock on the market. In addition, I think this helps alleviate some stress in the retail industry. They suffered a financial collapse as a result. The company lost all of its clients because of the horrible narrative. This has occurred far too frequently in the past. But Binance's ultimate intentions were to just buy all the assets stored in consumer accounts. Given that Voyager is presently in the midst of the bankruptcy process, they would also be able to restore financial stability to a huge number of affected parties. Thus, private investors receive their payouts last. If Binance could buy out all of the accounts, it would be a financially stable company that would also possess all of the assets. There would be a much better chance of really obtaining money back for many users whose accounts were stolen if they took their case to bankruptcy court. It's amazing to see what has transpired here, given most lawyers following the case believe that average investors will benefit from Binance's acquisition of the bankrupt Voyager. But then more money came in, so they went ahead and did it anyhow. To basically say no, this is not authorized, the SEC has to get in. The securities laws have been broken. Naturally, this was the focus of everyone's attention. As best as I can tell, nearly everyone familiar with the situation was of the opinion that Binance's acquisition of Voyager would have been beneficial to Voyager's retail customers. For these insignificant investors, it was the only practical means of extracting their funds from Voyager. Once Binance proposed this deal, however, the SEC stepped in to block it. This happened a few weeks ago, and the judge's stern verdict followed shortly after. Given that different accounts gave somewhat different facts, it was not obvious if the judge was merely thinking, well, this is an odd move, and willing to let him go through with it, or if he or she was prepared to take a stand. In any case, the trial moved into a new phase today. In addition, this court has zero patience for the SEC. He delivered a message to the SEC today, laying the blame on the SEC's shoulders for the industry's lack of clarity. It's impossible for anyone to read your mind. It's not lost on this court. The SEC is hesitant to provide clarity for the industry because it fears being seen as swooping in and saying, "Hey, just listen to us about all the various cryptocurrency-related issues." At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Cryptocurrency laws have been in place for some time. We're up to the task. Lean on us. Indeed, we have walked this path before. The judge is obviously unconvinced and is aware that the SEC is employing the same strategy as in the Ripple SEC case to try to steal the money of regular people. In the John D. and Company v. SEC litigation, the plaintiffs argue that human testimony represented only an individual's subjective judgment and not government policy in regards to cryptocurrencies in the Rippleverse. They initially argued it wasn't corporate advice, but after a judge determined that it may be released, they reversed course. The SEC does not advocate for or against any particular legal theory or position. Nonetheless, they continue to use the same methods when dealing with such circumstances. The most they can do is act as if they know what's going on and hope the judge buys their BS. Security is an unfamiliar idea to Voyager. Essentially, they're indicating that Binance is looking to purchase Voyager's assets. A single trade of securities represents this. So says the judge. You can't make such a general statement without providing any clarification. Obviously, this is a very abridged version of what actually happened. The important thing to remember is that every single lawyer who is keeping tabs on this scenario thinks it's ridiculous. The SEC is being hostile towards everyday investors by acting in this way. In trying to prevent Binance from purchasing Voyager, the SEC is seeking a ruling that will benefit the commission rather than the people who would be adversely affected. Help Binance aid these retail consumers who are being scammed. Another judge has found the SEC guilty of an appalling act and condemned their behavior. Very wonderful news, indeed. The SEC will eventually come to terms with the fact that it must alter its existing approach. People don't believe the SEC when it says things are crystal clear when they aren't. As long as we have judges willing to call out the SEC on their stupidity, their power will continue to dwindle. There's more SEC news where that came from, in case you thought that was a lot. A new cryptocurrency-related corporation appears to be the target of an SEC lawsuit. It seems like the SEC's going after Bitcoin in the every time I check Twitter. A brand new lawsuit has been submitted. Bitcoin has been removed from the security category. Yet the actual point is that mining pools, Bitcoin, and the pooling of consumer funds are all illegal. I haven't had time to read the whole case file, but it seems like that could be a secure investment. There appears to be significant debate ongoing about whether or not this represents a security hole. Remember that some crypto operations fall within the category of securities. In this station, we tried out the Kraken product. On top of that, I reasoned that Kraken was probably providing some sort of safety net. It is important to note that this is not the main issue at hand. The issue is the SEC's preference for litigation over defining the parameters of a security, which has led to widespread confusion. So, there is widespread consternation. Thus, it would appear that mining pools are the SEC's aim. Although we don't yet have all the details, we are currently pursuing legal action in response to the SEC's claim that the mining pool is a security. It wasn't until recently that anyone realized this was a precaution for safety. The fact that the corporation hasn't registered its products is also being actively questioned. A product that even remotely resembles a security product should be registered. Also, you won't have any legal standing to object if the SEC decides in the next 2 decades that, oh, by the way, we believe this was a security the whole time. We just didn't get the word out to you. I can't stress how important it is that you understand. No amount of thought should be given to having your company publicly traded on the SEC's stock exchange. This is shown to be correct in the Ripple instance. This is something I harp on all the time. This ongoing Ripple SEC case has provided me with access to documents that were previously unavailable, which is one of the few benefits I found. Ripple's request for advice from the SEC on how to lawfully sell XRP was one of the most surprising developments. To what extent can we guarantee the long-term profitability of our company while remaining in compliance with SEC regulations? Since they were unable to modify XRP to meet SEC requirements, the agency requested that its sale be ceased. Keeping tabs on monetary transactions was not an option. It was not possible to ensure that retail investors were protected by adequate disclosures. In reality, they had to either permanently stop selling XRP or go out of business. The SEC cannot be worked with in their current state. They intend to stop whatever they can. They think that by using dishonest means they will be rewarded with a rousing applause. That's why these cases are so absurd, too. Complying is impossible in this case. Those who like circumventing safeguards would have signed up anyway if they could have done so, but they were unable to. The SEC has denied their application. The SEC's goal is to give the impression that these businesses are knowingly breaking the law in order to increase their bottom line. If not, I trust that this revision satisfies your needs. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe and hit the like button. See you in the next video. Bye.